Thousands of people with disabilities have taken part in a protest at Westminster against welfare cuts. They claim that the proposed reforms of the benefit system, including the disability living allowance, will drive many more into poverty. Here's our social affairs correspondent, Alison Holt.
They've travelled from different parts of the country. They're living with many different types of disability.
Not too much to ask!
What brings these protesters together is that they believe they're the hardest hit. They claim that cuts to local services, along with welfare reforms, are making their lives impossible. Graham Gray says he's lost some of the support that was keeping him independent.
I used to have a certain amount of care during the week, and I've lost two-thirds of it due to the cuts, with the council having to save their money because the government had cut their money given to them.
Ellie Southwood is totally blind. She's seen cuts to a scheme that helped her at work.
For example, I use speech software on the computer, which Access to Work used to fund, so it's an additional cost because I'm blind that my employer wouldn't have to pay for another employee, and Access to Work will no longer fund that, so I'm funding it myself.
Organisers argue that for every person who's here on the march, there are others at home who want to have their voices heard here at the heart of government, but for whom the journey has just been too difficult. Campaigners say the list of benefits that have been cut or reformed that affect the disabled is long. They claim over the course of the Parliament, people with disabilities will be £9 billion worse off.
Already we are seeing many disabled people who are ending back in institutional care. There are people who are losing their independence and their everyday life is being hindered. And we've also heard stories about disabled people really at the edge of trying to commit suicide because of the services being reduced.
The government maintains people with real needs will be protected, but say welfare reform in particular is overdue.
Well, it can't be right that we have a benefit system where, under DLA, more people who are either alcoholics or drug addicts are in receipt of the high rate of disability living allowance than people who are blind.
The Law Commission has today described legislation governing adult care services as fragmented and outdated. Even so, some disabled people are now going to use the law to challenge the cuts. This is likely to be an increasingly bitter fight. Alison Holt, BBC News.